Hello, and welcome to Classic Country Backstories. I'm Colleen Gallagher. Step inside the world of a country music icon who was everybody's grandpa long before he actually had gray hair. Today, we're diving deep into the life and legacy of the legendary Louis Marshall Jones, better known to the world as Grandpa Jones. From his early days on the radio to becoming a staple at the Grand Ole Opry and the face of Hee Haw, Grandpa Jones brought a unique blend of old-time clawhammer banjo, energetic gospel, and that unmistakable mountain humor to millions. But behind the suspenders and the prop mustache was a dedicated musician who helped preserve the roots of American folk music. So grab your banjo and pull up a chair. This is the story of Grandpa Jones.
Nashville, Tennessee, country music capital of the world, home of the Grand Ole Opry, where singers and dreamers come seeking stardom. Join me as we learn about the lives and careers of those who built this town on Classic Country Backstories.
Louis Marshall Jones was born on October the 20th, 1913 in Niagara, Kentucky. He was the youngest of 10 children born to a tobacco farming sharecroppers family. His father was an old-time fiddler and his mother was adept at playing the concertina. His first instrument was the guitar. He began playing sometime around the age of 11. The WLS barn dance played a huge role inspiring Jones, along with Jimmie Rodgers records that his sister brought home. When he was a teenager, Jones' family moved to Akron, Ohio, where he played Jimmie Rodgers songs on the WJW radio show, calling himself the younger singer of old songs. In 1931, he joined the Pine Ridge String Band that provided the music for the Lum and Abner show. In 1935, his search for a musical career took him to WBZ Radio in Boston, Massachusetts. He met Bradley Kincaid, who gave him the name Grandpa Jones when he was just 22 years old. He earned that name with his offstage grumpiness at early morning radio shows. Jones liked the name and built his onstage persona around it, wearing a bushy mustache, high-top boots, and suspenders. So Grandpa became Grandpa at only 22 years old. Louis married Eulalia Marie Loescher on November 6, 1938. They had one daughter, Marcia Marie. In 1937, Jones moved to West Virginia. In the 40s, he met rising country star cousin Emmy, who taught Louis to play clawhammer banjo. This gave him a rough and backwards flavor to his act. As Grandpa Jones, he played guitar or banjo, yodeled, and sang old-time ballads. Louis and Eulalia divorced in 1942. In 1942, he joined WLW Radio in Cincinnati, Ohio. There, he met up with Merle Travis, who was also from Kentucky. In 1943, they made their recording debuts together for Sid Nathan's King Records. He was making records under his own name at this time. He had his first hit with It's Raining Here This Morning. Then Louis enlisted in the U.S. Army during World War II. In 1944, while stationed in Germany, he had a group called the Munich Mountaineers. After discharge in 1946, he came home and again recorded for King Records. He also went on to record for RCA Victor and Monument Records. In March of 1946, he moved to Nashville and joined the Grand Ole Opry. On October 14, 1946, he married Ramona Riggins. She was an accomplished musician herself, being on mandolin at 6 or 7 years of age. She played fiddle with Jones on his shows. Louis and Ramona were married for 52 years and had 3 children, Mark, Eloise, and Elisa. In 1947, Grandpa Jones released his most well-known hit, Mountain Dew. Another release that year was The Old Rattler. Jones left Nashville and the Grand Ole Opry in 1949 to work on the Old Dominion Barn Dance broadcast out of Richmond, Virginia. 1951 brought the release of 15 Cents Is All I Got. He returned to the Opry in 1952, only to leave again in 1956 to work on Jimmy Dean's TV show. In 1953, he released I'm No Communist, and in 1958, he released Daylight Savings Time. In 1959, Grandpa and Ramona Jones returned to Nashville once more. That same year, Grandpa released The All-American Boy, which made it to the number 21 position on the charts. 1962 brought a top 5 for Jones with T for Texas. In 1963, he released Night Train to Memphis. In the fall of 1968, Grandpa Jones became a charter member on the long-running television show Hee Haw. On the show, he either played banjo by himself or with David Stringbean Aikman. There were also episodes which Ramona was on the show with him. They wore bells on their wrists and their ankles and played while Ramona sang. One of the most remembered skits on Hee Haw was when the audience would shout, "Grandpa, what's for supper?" And he would respond with a rhyming menu comprised of a delicious country-style meal. Grandpa, Ramona, along with Stringbean and his wife Estelle Aikman, bought property with 2 houses next to each other in the Ridgetop area of Tennessee. The 2 couples were really close friends, and they did almost everything together. Grandpa and Ramona later moved off the property and bought a bigger home not far from Stringbean and Estelle. On the morning of November 11, 1973, Jones drove about a half mile from his home to Stringbean's cabin to pick up his best friend for a hunting trip. Jones discovered the bodies of his friends Stringbean and Estelle, who had been murdered upon returning home from the Opry the night before. Jones testified at the murder trial, which helped to secure a conviction of the assailants, Marvin Douglas Brown and his cousin, John Brown. Grandpa and Ramona were devastated with the loss of the Aikmans, their best friends. When Grandpa Jones returned to Hee Haw, he delivered a moving tribute to Stringbean during the 1974 season opener of the show. In later years, Grandpa performed their famous duet, Liza Jane, in remembrance of his dear friend, David Stringbean Aikman. In 1978, Grandpa Jones was inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. His autobiography, Everybody's Grandpa, 50 Years Behind the Mic, was published in 1984. In the 1980s, Grandpa and Ramona moved to Mountain View, Arkansas, to escape the pressures of Nashville and to return to a more simple way of life. Their son Mark lived in Mountain View as well. They lived there for more than a decade and even established the Grandpa Jones Family Dinner Theater to perform traditional music. Grandpa and Ramona were an integral part of the mountain music scene until their return to Nashville in the early 1990s. Grandpa Jones celebrated his 50th anniversary at the Grand Ole Opry in 1997. In January of 1998, Jones suffered 2 strokes backstage at the Grand Ole Opry following his second performance. He died at 7 p.m. on February 19, 1998. Grandpa Jones was 84 years old. A memorial service was held at the Grand Ole Opry House. The audience was packed with friends, family, and entertainers like Steve Wariner, Connie Smith, Garth Brooks, Kitty Wells, Marty Stewart, Jim Ed Brown, Jeannie Seely, and many other stars. Somewhere around 1,000 attended the service. A memorial wreath was hung on Grandpa Jones' Opry dressing room door prior to the following week's show. He was buried in the Luton Memorial Methodist Church Cemetery in Goodlettsville, Tennessee. Following Jones' passing, his wife Ramona dedicated Grandpa's costume to the Country Music Hall of Fame to be put on display for the fans to see. There was a special ceremony held at the Hall of Fame, which was attended by Ramona, Chet Atkins, his brother Eugene Jones, and Hall of Fame director Kyle Young. Ramona Jones died November 17, 2015. She was 91 years old. She was buried next to Grandpa. In 2023, Jones was inducted into the American Banjo Music Hall of Fame. From the early days in Boston to over 50 years on the Grand Ole Opry, Louis Marshall Jones, our grandpa, truly lived up to his legend as a keeper of the old-time music flame. Behind that fake mustache and the hee-haw jokes was a virtuoso clawhammer banjo player who brought clawhammer style to the forefront. He was a guardian of tradition, a kind soul, and a true original. Thanks for joining us at this look back at the life of everybody's grandpa on Classic Country Backstories. Until next time, take care. God bless, and I'll see you later.